What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video about Liverpool versus Tottenham. And now I just want to go through Tottenham's tactical change at halftime, which ultimately gave Liverpool the edge to go on and win the game. So, to get right into it, I'm using Keyframe. If you guys are interested, you want to check it out, and if you make content for people, this is a great tool to have. I will put the link in the description below, and so you guys have access to it. Now first, Liverpool, they played in their 4-3-3. No changes from them other than Wijnaldum playing in the lone pivot role with Thiago and Milner ahead of him. And now what Tottenham did in the second half, they switched from a back three to a back four, and they did this to get better access to the midfield, and I'll highlight that here. So we have our two holding midfielders from Tottenham and Ndombele playing in the 10 role ahead of them, and this gave them a matchup for Liverpool, really man-to-man. They were more space-oriented, but it put the players in a better starting position to give them access to Liverpool's midfield three, and then the wide players, Lamela came on, and this would give them better access to Liverpool's fullback in theory. But what they didn't account for was the narrow movements from Liverpool's front three and how fluid their gameplay is, and the use of the wide areas and the cover that the third center back provided when dealing with Liverpool's front three. So that was the theory behind it, but it didn't pan out that way. So we're going to look at in the offensive phase now, really the differences that came about and why Liverpool seemed to be so effective against Tottenham's new formation in a 4-2-3-1. So now I'll highlight the two central defenders for Tottenham with their double pivot. And so now one of the main rotations that Tottenham used was bringing back one of their holding midfielders to form a back three. So through this movement, they would form a back three, which in theory should have pushed on the fullback, to then advance, which would have allowed Bergwijn to come narrow and play between the lines. But oftentimes the fullbacks stayed deeper, which didn't make quite too much sense to me. But they also used this back three. They used the back three with the holding midfielder, and it left more space open in the half spaces, which I thought Tottenham was going to use. So their central defenders or holding midfielder, whoever was on the ball, would then be able to advance through the half space through dribbling. But in reality, that's not how it worked out, and actually the half spaces were a key transition point for Liverpool when they would win the ball. So, and then higher up the field, we had players working together on either side. When Lamela came on, he would work with Son, and Ndombele would work with Bergwijn to try and move off of each other and create space between the lines. But by positioning themselves closer together, this played into Liverpool's defensive setup and the use of Liverpool's cover shadows when defending. So we have Milner, Wijnaldum, and Thiago Alcantara with Mane, Firmino, and Salah. So in Liverpool's current setup, their cover shadows are able to block the space between the lines, and they're able to isolate possession because of their positioning between defenders. So their positioning gives them multiple access to multiple players while still protecting the space between the lines from the weak side central midfielder and Wijnaldum, the lone pivot, if you will. So we'll keep moving through the sequence because this sequence highlights it well. And now we start to see Liverpool's press. So they are effectively able to cut off one side, and the midfield is able to shift over and cover the press. They also stagger the press, so the midfielders are slightly staggered with the front three to create access to where Liverpool's press can then be broken. But this didn't happen very often or very effectively when it did happen. Even when Liverpool's press was broken, they recovered well and were able to isolate possession to prevent further progression. So that's the setup, and then we can also see the deep fullback on the weak side and Ndombele between the lines. So just want to highlight that there while Liverpool start their press. So now we can keep moving. So now they play into the wide area, and this, although Mane could have done a better job pressing, he's supposed to take away the fullback with his cover shadow, so to solve for this, he could have curved his run better to more effectively use his cover shadow. But nonetheless, Liverpool have good shape, and they're in a good position to recover from this. So we highlight the midfielders who are compact. They look about 12 yards between each other horizontally, so they're compact, good shape. And then we have Firmino, who's blocking the holding midfielder, and Salah, who's taking both the weak side holding midfielder and the central defender out of the picture by him splitting both. So when Liverpool do get broken here slightly, it should be a problem for them, and Tottenham should be able to take advantage of it, but that's not how it happened. Liverpool were able to recover very well from this and isolate possession. And then through isolating possession, I'll highlight the midfield shape again. Firmino now, he drops to prevent progression of the ball, and Mane becomes the most central player now, trying to cut off the outlets through the center back, and Salah still doing his job, creating multiple access, and with Mane coming between players to again cut off more than one player. But now we look at here, and we should see that Højbjerg, he has space to turn if he receives on the back foot, and now they have space through the weak side fullback, and now a chance for the offensive attacking midfielders to be effective. We have Ndombele in the weak side half space, and then we have Son and Lamela trying to work off each other. But again, because of the midfield compactness, it didn't really make much sense how Spurs were trying to play between the lines, because the use of the Liverpool's cover shadow gave them positional advantage when they were in transition, and when they were structured in their defense, the use of their cover shadows took away the options. But we have Højbjerg here now, and he's a key part, and I did think he played quite well at times, but just little mistakes like this, where instead of receiving on his back foot like he did and going into the space, he goes back to where Liverpool are isolating the ball, and we can already see the Liverpool players who are lining up to press. We see Andy Robertson, he already has a jump to go and press Lamela, so Lamela will have to take his touch back into pressure, where then he'll be isolated and Liverpool's intensity will pick up when pressing. So with Mane back pressing, maybe I'm being too harsh. The decision had to be made quick. He makes a quick decision under pressure, and he can't lose the ball in this area or else they'll be exposed. So he has to pick the option of going through Lamela, who has pressure arriving from Andy Robertson. So now, just another example. Just going to go through it quickly now because we got past the main point. We have two center defenders and a double pivot. And then our fullback is deep, not really adjusting towards the double pivot, and it allows Liverpool's players to stay higher up and give them better distances when pressing, both the players, because they don't have to worry about the fullbacks advancing, so they can stay higher up. And Thiago now can even jump and almost create a 4-2-4 shape, and they commit more players forward, which helps them in the offensive transition, and they have just 2 players now who can control the players between the lines, trying to overload the half spaces. So that's pretty much it. Just wanted to go through a couple pictures with you guys, highlight the structure, see what went wrong with Tottenham, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want Keyframe, the link's below. You can check it out, get your free trial. It's awesome. You can create content really quickly and send it to players, coaches, whoever you want. So I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.